The stars appeared less bright than usual as Admiral Tom stood at the enormous window of the Alliance flagship. The most recent battle reports flashed across his neural display, each one worse than the last. 3 more systems had fallen to the machines in the past week alone. The once proud and mighty Alliance was now running out of space and time, Admiral. His aide, a tall, bluish-skinned alien named Reed, told him that the country demanded his presence. Despite Tom's 20 years of experience working with different species, he still found it peculiar that the Bridgers liked. The council chamber was circular and could change the color of a person's skin depending on their mood. At the moment, Reed's normally bright blue skin had taken on a grayish tone, which was a clear indication that they were distressed. Out of the 50 different species represented, only 32 were present today. The remaining seats belonged to worlds that had already been conquered by the machines. The room was unusually silent, with only the faint sound of life support systems and the occasional worried whisper breaking the silence. "The Centauri defense line has fallen," announced first speaker Max His. A sense of dread washed over the chamber as Max, with a voice heavy with defeat, continued, "We have tried everything. Our best weapons bounce off their new shields. Our fastest ships can't penetrate their new defenses." Four hands clenched around the podium as the machines sliced through our strongest defenses like paper. 3 hours ago, we lost contact with the entire sector. The Centauri line had been their greatest hope, a vast network of fortified worlds and space stations that had held for over 5 years. With its loss, the machines had a clear path to the core worlds. Tom stepped forward, his boots echoing in the silent chamber. "We may have one last option." He pulled up a holographic display of a spiral galaxy. "Our deep space scouts discovered this civilization 2 months ago, and we've been monitoring them ever since." The image zoomed in on a blue-green planet orbiting a yellow star. "They call it Earth." Tom described it as a death world, complete with high gravity, extreme weather, dangerous wildlife, and more. Tom calmly responded, "They've accomplished something none of us have managed. They've survived on a world that should have killed them. Their entire history is filled with warfare, yet they adapt, evolve, and survive against impossible odds." The hologram shows humans fighting in various terrains, deserts, jungles, and more. "It's incredible, but they're primitive," shouted one council member. "We haven't even achieved faster than light travel." Tom responded, "The machines beat us because they learned to predict our strategies. Every species in the Alliance fights according to their traditional doctrines, but humans," with a hint of a smile, "but humans are able to adapt our strategies to fight everywhere and in every condition." Max, the speaker, had studied the images in great detail. He believed they could help us defeat the machines. Unexpectedly heated debate broke out in the council chamber, but Tom remained glued to the holographic images of Earth. The machines had never faced anything like humans before, so perhaps that would be the turning point. One morning, beacon flashed red, signaling the fall of another system. Time was running out, and Earth was no longer an option. It was their sole chance for survival. The president of Earth's United Nations sat rigid in his chair, gazing at the enormous hologram suspended above his desk. A seemingly ordinary morning took a dramatic turn on this historic day when 3 extraterrestrial ships suddenly appeared in Earth's orbit, transmitting a message in flawless English. Admiral Tom nodded to his translator, making the message understood by the other Alliance members. "We wouldn't be here if we had any other choice, Mr. President. The machines are destroying everything in," he said, his gaze fixed on the extraterrestrial delegation in his office. The alien spacecraft made their way outside the heavily guarded United Nations building, where millions of people watched on giant screens as military jets circled overhead, their pilots anxious but holding their positions. The world waited breathlessly for what happened next. The hologram showed scenes of destruction, which caused everyone in the room to flush. It depicted billions of aliens and civilians being processed into machine soldiers, and the reduction of mighty fleets to nothing more than a smoldering ash. The president wiped perspiration from his brow as he spoke, and the machines were heading in that direction. "Whether Earth joins us or not, they will find you eventually. But together, we might have a chance." General Mike, head of Earth's Joint Military Command, stepped forward, his weathered face betraying his intense interest as he studied the tactical displays. "Their weakness is that they are too perfect and too ordered," he said grimly. Tom's face lit up with excitement as he realized that the aliens had come to Earth to challenge human military doctrine. He pointed to the general, who had quickly recognized their weakness. A hologram shifted once more, revealing Alliance technology, including energy shields, plasma weapons, and faster-than-light drives. Tom continued, offering full access to their technology in exchange for the president's soldiers, strategists, and, most importantly, their mindset. The general gave a firm nod. The chief scientific officer was practically jumping for joy. The economic advisor was already calculating the benefits of extraterrestrial technology, and Reed, whose complexion had turned nearly black from fear, added, "We are not requesting Earth to join a war, we are warning you that war is already coming." The president rose slowly to his feet, his decision made. "Humanity has dreamed of the stars for centuries," he said, "but we never imagined our first step into the galaxy would be into." War broke out as he extended a hand to Tom, but the two had never backed down from a fight before, especially when the stakes were this high. Just as Tom was about to shake hands, the president's face hardened as he watched a machine fleet destroy another Alliance world in a new hologram. "How soon can we start integrating your technology with our military?" he asked. "Every minute counts now, then let's get to work," Tom replied. "It's time to show these machines how we can defeat them." The training instructors of the Alliance were shocked to see human pilots run the combat simulator for the 10th time. With each run, the rules of space combat, which had been established over centuries, were being disregarded. The chief instructor, who had been watching the pilots, muttered something about how impossible it was for them to turn off their shields in the middle of battle to conserve power for their weapons. The simulation was declared a success, with 15 machine vessels destroyed compared to a previous record of 7. As the human engineers dismantled the Alliance's most advanced weapon, the alien technicians watched in horror. They had spent centuries perfecting the technology, and now humans were modifying it without hesitation or fear. "You can't just rewire a plasma cannon," shouted the lead technician. "Watch us grin," said the head engineer, pointing to the modifications. "See if we can bypass these safety protocols and overclock the power." General Mike addressed the Alliance War Council in front of a holographic display of machine formations, explaining, "Your problem is that you fight too clean, too organized. The machines love that they can calculate every move. We need to be unpredictable, but our formations are designed for a different kind of risk-taking. Maximal efficiency, according to the alien commander, is predictable." In response, Mike suggested controlled chaos, referencing Earth's military history, asymmetric battles, surprise attacks, and guerrilla warfare. "The machines," he said, "wouldn't anticipate ships acting dead and then striking from behind, and they certainly wouldn't expect KMA runs from vessels they thought were disabled." Admiral Tom watched all of this unfold with growing hope, and in just 3 weeks, humans had transformed Alliance technology into something new. A junior officer swarmed into the strategy room, alerting the human engineers that something had been done to the prototype fleet. The alien officers were taken aback by the sight before them. The once elegant Alliance ships had been altered to an extreme degree, with weapons attached to every surface, shields rearranged to form overlapping fields, and engines pushed far away. As shock washed over Reed, he whispered, "What have you done to our ships? They're uglier now, but they'll hit harder and fight longer. We call this one the ugly stick because it's going to beat the machines to death." General Mike looked approval-struck at the modified ships, and as if answering his own question, alarms blared throughout the station, signaling the perfect opportunity for a machine scout fleet to be detected nearby. The test run went smoothly, as Jack clenched his fists. The Alliance members nervously watched as human pilots hurried to their modified ships, ready to witness firsthand if Earth's chaotic approach to warfare could truly alter the course of the war. The machine fleet was caught off guard. 1 second they were scanning an apparently deserted sector of space, and the next they were launching attacks from seemingly impossible angles, caused by asteroids and debris fields. Ugly Stick, a modified ship, was living up to its name as it charged head-on at a machine cruiser, firing overcharged plasma bolts from weapons welded to its hull. The machines tried to adjust to their usual flawless defensive formations, but the human ships wouldn't follow any pattern. Some of them waited in space for the machine ships to pass before ambushing them, while others just mumbled something about how crazy humans can be. In order to get close enough for killing shots, the ships purposefully took hits on reinforced sections of their hulls. Admiral Tom, who was watching the chaotic battle unfold, demanded a status report. The tactical officer confirmed that 17 machine ships had been destroyed. Admiral Tom thought this couldn't be true, so he double-checked his readings. It turned out that we had lost only 2 ships, and one of those had been sacrificed to take out the enemy's command vessel. As the machine fleet faced an enemy it couldn't predict, it started to break apart in perfect formation. Human pilots made full use of the situation, eliminating confused machine ships one by one. Jack and his team were closely watching their modifications, and he reported with excitement that the overcharged plasma cannons were working better than expected. It turns out that ignoring common sense and safety protocols allows you to punch right through machine shields. Alliance officers watched in awe as human tactics turned decades of space combat doctrine on its head. Maintaining safe distances, they approached the battle too closely, causing the machine ships' targeting systems to fail. In response, the humans shifted to long-range ambush tactics, and instead of being scared, they appeared enthralled by the challenge. General Mike's voice crackled over the command channel, and just as planned, the human ships roared to life, while the reinforcing machine fleets sprang into action. In the midst of a fierce crossfire, an Alliance commander whispered, "The machines always scan for ambushes, how did they miss this one?" Jack grinned from his engineering station, explaining that our ships had been concealed inside hollow asteroids, and that the machines were specifically seeking powered ships, not rocks with engines. As the battle descended into a slaughter, the ship's inability to calculate responses to human unpredictable behavior caused their once flawless formations to crumble. Their predetermined reactions turned into predictable vulnerabilities when the final machine ship went boom, sending shockwaves through the control center. The unthinkable had transpired. A large machine fleet had been annihilated with minimal casualties for the Alliance. Admiral Tom, content with the battle report, sent word to Earth, ordering them to begin modifying all of their ships. The machines had dominated space for far too long, now was the moment for them to fear the anarchy that humans bring to battle. The message was loud and clear: the war was far from over. The news of the human victory spread like wildfire through Alliance space, giving the Alliance hope for the first time in years. At the Central Command Station, Admiral Tom stood before a massive tactical display, watching as hundreds of Alliance ships underwent human modifications to their machines. After decades of unstoppable advance, the machines were finally checked. Reed, whose skin was glowing blue with excitement, reported that another machine fleet had been destroyed in the Orient sector. The Alliance fleet had become an unpredictable mess due to human ingenuity, which had made the tactics work flawlessly. The programming of the machines, however, is struggling to keep up with our unpredictable behavior. The tactical display showed machine forces retreating from multiple sectors, with their perfect formations breaking down as they attempted to defend against attacks that seemed to come out of nowhere. General Mike nodded in satisfaction. Earth has finished building its first fleet of ships, and they're unlike anything we've seen so far. The screen changed to highlight Earth's role in the war effort, and the Alliance officers gasped in disbelief. They had anticipated that Earth would modify Alliance designs, but instead, Earth had created something completely new. The ships appeared primitive, but their designs incorporated all the knowledge humans had about fighting machines. Jack pointed to the heavily armored vessels and explained that they were part of the Honey Badger class. Jack proudly replied, "We're building them as fast as we can. Every ship is slightly different, so there are no patterns for the machines to analyze. We built ships with backup everything, engines, weapons, and crew compartments spread out throughout the hull. You can blow half the ship away and it will keep fighting." Admiral Tom studied the design with growing approval. Suddenly, an alarm blared throughout the station, and a massive machine smashed through the structure. The machines had finally recognized the threat that humans posed, and now they're coming for us. Reed, whose skin was turning pale, said, "This is their main battle fleet," while General Mike smiled and said, "They're doing exactly what we wanted." With that, he activated a command channel and all ships were ordered to execute Operation Thunderstrike. The tactical display burst into activity as hundreds of modified Alliance ships and new Earth vessels emerged from hiding spots throughout the sector, some of which burst. Machine precision clashed head-on with human unpredictability as some ships powered up from asteroids, others from debris fields, and still more abandoned their sensor cloaks. The trap had been set for weeks, as Mike informed the shocked Alliance officers. We had leaked just enough information to convince them to commit their main fleet, and now they were encircled. The subsequent battle would be remembered for centuries. In various ways, as the machine fleet started to crumble, Admiral Tom sent a message to all Alliance worlds, stating that the tide had turned. Humanity had shown them how to fight back, and the machines were no longer invincible. The Alliance wasn't just surviving, they were winning. Hope began to bloom across the galaxy once again. On Earth, the massive production facility on the Moon was operating at full capacity. Where there had been empty lunar plains, where there were now kilometers of factories churning out ships that. Admiral Tom watched with satisfaction as 20 warships blasted off from the lunar surface, each one modified in subtle ways to prevent the machines from identifying patterns. We're now building more ships in a week than the Alliance built in a year. Combine human ingenuity with Alliance technology, and another batch of honey badgers is ready for deployment, as announced by Jack. The space around Earth had become the primary staging ground for the Alliance. They've lost 12 major systems in the past month alone, they can't adapt fast enough to our tactics. General Mike studied the tactical display with intense focus. They're not just retreating, he said, pointing to movement patterns, they're consolidating their forces around something in their core. Thousands of ships gathered on the ground for the next phase of the war. Reed, whose skin sparkled with an intense blue that showed his excitement, displayed the latest battle maps. We're picking up huge energy signatures from the machine territories, sir, and the command center was humming with activity as human and extraterrestrial officers worked together. What had begun as a desperate alliance had blossomed into a fruitful partnership, with the extraterrestrials lending their sophisticated technology and centuries of wisdom and the humans throwing the machines for a loop with their unpredictable strategies. Presented a new type of machine vessel that emerged from their factory worlds. These ships were massive, easily 10 times larger than anything that had come before. The machines seemed to have decided that if they couldn't contend with human unpredictableness, they would simply overwhelm it with raw power. However, Jack couldn't help but smile at the designs. After all, bigger means a bigger target. Those power readings indicate that they are pushing their systems to their limits, trying to mimic our tactics without understanding what makes them work or how long until the next encounter. As a new wave of Earth ships is prepared to launch, Admiral Tom inquired about the new Wolverine-class vessels. Jack, in response, said that they are smaller than honey badgers but twice as powerful. General Mike gathered the fleet commanders for a briefing, and the hologram displayed their next targets, the primary production facilities of the machine. The machines believe that their size and power will protect them, but General Mike explained that it's not about having the biggest ships or the strongest weapons. All ships' battle stations ordered Admiral Tom to demonstrate to the massive machine vessels that bigger isn't necessarily better. With alarms blaring throughout the command center, the human commander showed excitement rather than fear as they prepared to turn the machine's strength against them. The combined human alliance fleet sailed out, each ship prepared to fight in its own unique way. As the massive machine vessel detonated in space, it was ripped apart by coordinated fire from 3 Wolverine-class ships. Debris strewn across the battlefield, and General Mike, observing from the command bridge of Earth's newest flagship, the Thunderchild, noted with satisfaction that their big ships were just as predictable as their small ones. Despite their power, they still couldn't adapt to human tactics. Human boarding teams, an unprecedented threat to the machines, were wreaking havoc inside the enormous space station. The machines lacked proper procedures for dealing with the soldiers, who would force their way through the hulls and engage in hand-to-hand combat in the maintenance tunnels. Team Alpha had reached the central core, as reported by Captain Bill through static fire. The machines had no idea that anyone would be so insane as to attempt to board their stations without any internal defenses whatsoever. He announced that the Honey Badger fleet had broken through in Sector 7, 3 more machine worlds had fallen in the past hour, and they are running out of places to retreat to. Jack's voice crackled over the comms from his engineering station. Sir, and we are detecting massive energy spikes from the other fronts. The tactical display rewashed in amazement as human soldiers planted explosives throughout the shipyard's vital systems. General Mike ordered all boarding teams to set their charges and evacuate the shipyard seconds before a series of synchronized explosions rocked the shipyard, escalating tensions within the machine territories. The tactical display showed a cluster of heavily defended systems at the center of machine space, and energy readings were off the charts, suggesting something massive was being built or awakened. No time to celebrate, though, because the energy readings from the machine core worlds were getting stronger. Whatever the machines were preparing was big enough to make them give up their outer territories without a fight. All ships were ordered to form up by Admiral Tom, who was positioned in the fleet's rear. The machines were falling back to protect something important, but that wasn't the only reason they detonated their charges and destroyed one of their primary production facilities. With their unpredictable modifications, the Honey Badgers and Wolverines spearheaded the assault, while modified Alliance vessels prepared to support them. Running Scared Jack reported from engineering that they are abandoning defensive positions they've held for decades, either because they're finally breaking or because they're protecting something so important. The combined Human Alliance fleet regrouped and was getting ready for their next push. General Mike studied the tactical display intently, thinking, what are they hiding in those core systems? We need to find it. It's the key to ending this war. The fleet advanced, penetrating machine territory more deeply than any force had ever gone before, and the humans were determined to finish the war. Whatever was in those core systems, Earth's forces were prepared to face it. The real battle was just beginning, and Reed felt his skin crawl as he heard whispers from the stars. An artificial planet-sized sphere pulsing with energy was revealed on the tactical display, shocking everyone. General Mike declared it to be the galaxy's central processing core, the brain controlling all machines. The Human Alliance fleet had battled through the most formidable defenses they had ever faced, losing dozens of ships along the way, but they had finally discovered the greatest secret of the machines. The enormous sphere was encircled by. Admiral Tom convened an emergency meeting of all fleet commanders. Holographic projections revealed a variety of faces, both human and alien, as they studied the seemingly impenetrable defenses. One Alliance member warned that launching a frontal assault would be a suicide mission. The formation consisted of rings of defensive platforms and the largest concentration of machine ships ever seen. Commander, our entire fleet would still be unable to breach those defenses. However, General Mike's smile, that familiar one, suggested an idea that the machines would never anticipate. Somebody mentioned breaking through, and we're going to let them bring us in. The plan was so insane that only humans could have thought of it. The Alliance's desperation would have allowed it to be attempted. We're going to turn off our ships, Reed asked with a mix of disbelief and confusion on his face. It's official, the machines have already begun preparing the Honey Badger ships for their new role, not by destroying them, but by processing and integrating them into their fleet. So, in the next 12 hours, there will be a mad dash of preparation as Special Forces teams hide in sealed compartments across the fleet ships, which have been altered to look more damaged than they actually are. Weapons, hidden behind false hull breaches, will be meticulously concealed. General Mike spoke to the volunteers. The human crews grimaced in agreement, knowing that their chances of survival were low, but that the chance to end the war was worth the risk. The ships in position, reported Reed, whose skin had turned a deep purple, a color that conveyed both fear and determination, as they watched the massive machine fleet encircle them. Once inside, crews had exactly 10 minutes to fight their way to critical systems and plant the charges. Long years of war, innumerable sacrifices, and the fate of the galaxy were reduced to this moment as massive processing ships swooped in to transform the captured vessels into new machine warriors. General Mike silently ordered all teams to stand by, reminding them that this was their only chance. As the processing ships devoured each vessel, humans and their alien allies waited in intense silence, knowing that this was their last chance. In the midst of what was supposed to be a routine processing operation, a desperate battle broke out inside the heart of the machine empire. Teams moved quickly and hit hard, as ordered by General Mike through encrypted communications. We had 8 minutes before the adaptive protocols would be activated. This incident served as a lesson about humanity, showing that sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one that seems to be defeated. The human teams battled with devastating efficiency, having learned from years of fighting machines where to strike. Machine defenders attempted to organize responses, but humans were already making their way through maintenance shafts, setting charges at critical junctions. Captain Bill reported that his team had reached the central processing chamber, which was enormous and filled with pulsing energy columns. "You need to see this, sir. It's beautiful in a terrifying way." The true heart of the machine empire, a vast and powerful structure that spanned kilometers, was about to be breached. Within 5 minutes, all of the machine ships in the sector would be alerted to our presence. Reed's voice crackled through the command channel, his tone urgent and powerful. Spike detected that the core was attempting to purge us, but the humans had contingency plans. Defensive systems went into action, and hidden explosives were detonated throughout the facility. The machines had been so. The teams were so preoccupied with outside threats that they failed to anticipate that the rig they had captured could detonate within. General Mike issued an order to begin Phase 2 outside the massive sphere, and the Human Alliance fleet, which had been hiding behind the Briss fields, unexpectedly powered up. They were attacked from all directions, and Captain Bill's team managed to reach the main control nexus charges, but we would not be able to make it. Returning to the extraction point in time, we are aware of the risks. Bill calmly replied, "Just make it count." Then, the detonation sequence started throughout the massive sphere. Carefully placed charges began to explode in sequence. The machine core felt something new, fear, energy readings going critical, and General Mike's voice remained steady as he gave his final order. All ships jumped to a safe distance, and our people were evacuated. The massive sphere began to break apart as its power grid began to fail. When the fleet was unexpectedly severed from their central control, chaos ensued. Some ships froze in mid-flight, while others started firing at random, unable to handle the loss of guidance. The Human Alliance fleet took refuge in the sphere, which exploded in a blast that illuminated half the galaxy. As the light faded, the mighty machine empire reduced to mere floating debris. Admiral Tom demanded a status report from the fleet, and Reed reported that machine activity across all sectors had ceased. His joy was so intense that it was nearly blinding. Then, suddenly, everything shut down. The news spread like a wave of hope across the galaxy, touching thousands of worlds. As people looked up, they saw machine ships falling from the sky, deactivated forever. By doing the impossible, humanity had accomplished the seemingly impossible. Through sheer unpredictability and determination, they had turned a losing war into a victory. The galaxy would never forget how, in its darkest hour, humans had saved themselves, ending the war and the age of machines. A position among the stars was rightfully reserved for humanity.